Hello again. This time I found dozens of more underground entrances on another region of Mars, mostly 5 to 8 times bigger. But I also find there to be a very big problem, leading me to an unfortunate conclusion.
Okay, so if you look carefully here at the map of Mars, you can see vertical lines going up and down. These are just creases in the data according to the individual sweeps of the satellite. And if we just close in on here, for example, you can see a definite change of color from the left to the right. And I assume that's just because the pictures were taken at different times of the day. Now, what I should have seen sooner is that the 5 underground entrances I showed you all align perfectly with one of the creases. If you can see it, that vertical line. You can see the change in color from the left to the right. This line perfectly hits the square hole and shaves off the west side of all 5 of them. As we follow the crease, same thing right here, shaving off the west side, which is why I'm now sure that they are not real but the product of a computer error, possibly manipulated. Happy Trail is the same thing. It follows a different crease, these slits, and it may be the same computer error because as we look closely you can see this right angle turn here and this right angle turn here, as they almost produce another square opening. And so they keep going north along, and as we follow this crease, it just hits the north end perfectly. And that's the northernmost slit right there, right on the crease. So this is definitely a computer error. So what we have here is a very large, higher definition range that's shaped like 2 rectangular strips side by side but unaligned. There's one going down here and the second one going down here, producing 8 sides. And strictly along the edges of this range I found dozens of new underground entrances. All of them are mostly blurred out by unavailable data. Many of them are just corners sticking out. I have found nothing inside this range, and I've searched for a long time. So to show you what I'm talking about, this is a square hole that we can only barely see. And there'll be another and another, and it just goes on and on. All 8 sides. Now there's a giant one on the south end of each of the 2 rectangles. This is a giant underground entrance, and here we have an undisturbed crater going into the wall. And as we zoom in carefully, we can see a white blur here and here where the rim of the crater goes into the wall and only becomes invisible in the black area, suggesting an overlay of images. And the second one is over here. It's very similar to the first one. I don't think a computer error would produce such quantity and quality of these square holes. Nor do I think it's a coincidence that they're along the edge. Now, as you see here, the edge of the range is mostly a straight line. until we get to these square holes where they bulge inward as if to hide them, suggesting manipulation, but it doesn't cover their corners. So my question is, what kind of a cover-up job would fail so pathetically? We have these on all 8 sides. And it goes on and on. This ain't no computer error, ain't no coincidence, and it ain't no lousy cover-up job. And the simplest explanation will tend to be the correct one.
My conclusion is that this is a manipulated computer error, not by NASA themselves. I'm not big on conspiracy theories, but rather just an individual hoaxer on their payroll. This kind of infraction doesn't need a motive, it is the motive. So, NASA has an embarrassing renegade hoaxer they need to catch. Okay, it's disappointing. I wish it was real, but it is not. And it took me 3 weeks to figure it out. This is a re-edited video. So I regret to report that I just took us for a ride. Big zany roller coaster out of this world ride. Sorry, forgive my ignorance. Don't forgive the hoaxer or NASA's lack of oversight. If there's any lesson to be learned in this, it's that we have to be skeptical. Don't be too quick to believe. That was pretty hard evidence, but it was fake. I'm Mr. Vanilla Caramel, and you've just been brought up to date again.